Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Camppatton Family Compound. Whoops, oh no, everything's acting up weird here. Wow. If I get this thing going back right, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, there we go. Dang. Technical difficulties here on the Homestead, folks, but it's time for Friday night on the Homestead. And tonight's topic is Homestead Focus. And how's everybody doing out there? Get up over here and say hi to everybody. See more people coming in. Alrighty, so first one in this evening was Walt Rogers, and he posted with his membership free monthly comment or whatever in there for 27 months. Family Klein Wolf was second, Mad Chick was third, Chef Tech was fourth, Troop 1351 was fifth, Rebel Canner's came in sixth with Angel's Homestead right on her tail, and and then everybody's talking about the ads they were getting. Lewis, it's the Marshmallow Man, and Jack Geeky Gardens came in. Tammy Harder is here. And those are the ones making comments. We got 12 watching, so that means we got more lurking. Lurking is fine. If you're lurking, please, though, hit the thumbs up and at least say lurking. All righty. All right, so we got, put this thing over here. Boom, there we go. All right, and Prepared For is here. Diana 2 is here. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so tonight's topic is one that kind of goes along with scheduling and time management and making the choices of what is most important to you. Excuse me. All righty, so let's get over here, and there we go. And so basically, the topic was a little bit longer. It was kind of hard to put all the wording out here on the picture, but it was. So I'm trying to find a cough drop here. Cough drops. Finally found the one that had cough drops in it. Is so it's, as you notice, it's everything now or one thing at a time, and that's what you got to make a decision on how you want to move forward with your quote homestead, even if your homestead's in a city. You're in a suburbia. You got to figure out what you want to do, which do you need to do first, and which one can you put off to later. So let's get over here to the next one here. So yeah, everything now, one thing at a time, or do you do it in groups? And so I don't have very many slides. I just want to, so a homestead though does not have to be big, fancy, all new buildings, new barn, new this, new that. You can start out with, buying a fixer-upper if you're going to get property of your own. Now, it can have old sheds on it and old barns on it and stuff, and you just make do until you get everything moving along, and then when you can afford, you can go to getting homes and stuff. So, with that in mind, one of the first things you need to do is plot out the area you have to work with. Now, if you're working on a plan system of, all right, we're in the city, we're going to try to fix this property up, sell it after, in a couple of years after we have, save more money, stop wasting money going to the movie theater, stop wasting money going to Starbucks, stop wasting money, doing all this other erroneous stuff that we really don't need to be doing. That's one of the things that you can do. But if you're going to do that, keep an eye on the future of you're going to sell that property. Is anything you're going to do to the property going to be detrimental to selling to someone else who may not be in mind of doing, quote, homesteading in suburbia or wherever you're at? One of the things I can say that is always good for a property is trees. And the best time to plant trees is 5 years ago. Because planting, especially if you're planting fruit trees, trees take time, are slow growing. They take time. If you plant fruit trees, you can count on, unless you buy them in the big pots, you're paying more for them. You're going to have a couple of years before you start getting fruit. And even if you get like the 15-gallon pots, from the nurseries or so, that already has some fruit on them, when you buy them, you're going to have to strip the fruit when you plant it, so it puts more energy into roots. So the following year, it can grow some fruit. But you got to realize you may get 3 or 4, 5 or 6 fruit the next year, but it's not going to be like in 5 years where you're getting hundreds of apricots, apples, oranges, whatever it is off that tree. I have one white peach tree started from stone last year. Yeah. And so his is really going to take, that's probably going to be more like 8 years for Mark to get, for that one to start producing for him. Now, so if you're in suburbia and you plant a couple fruit trees in the backyards and you're on you're planning on selling it in 5 to 7 years, getting a bigger pot might be a better investment, because if the tree is bigger and producing, apricots or apples or whatever in the backyard, or maybe even in the front yard, that will be a positive selling point if you're going to sell the property and try to buy something like this. When you so you need to plan out what you need to do that's going to help you to be able to work on your preparedness, if you will, work on your self-sufficiency there, that some of the things can go with you. That might be a small chicken coop that you load in the back of a pickup and take the chickens and everything with you to the new property. Then again, you may get, when the people come to look at it, they say, "You got chickens? Are the chickens stand?" They may get all excited about chickens, and then you can go, "Well, okay, if I don't have to transport the chickens, I can buy new ones up there." You have to figure out the pros and cons, weigh whether or not you want to, wait another year before you start getting chickens again. I mean, getting eggs from the chickens or whatever. If you have already bought property out somewhere and you're not living out there, what can you do before you buy your 5, 6, 10-year plan, whatever it is, to move out there to that homestead? What things can you be doing out there that will survive and that you can improve the property with without being out there all the time? Yeah. So, you got to figure, basically you need to make a list, multiple columns, things you absolutely need and want, things let me drop this down in here. A couple of you want to come up here. Oh, wait a minute. Cammy's going live in half an hour? Okay. I thought that's what that said. I clicked on it real quick and okay, so interesting. I had a tooth break last night. A piece of the filling that was in that tooth just flaked out. Oh well. So you need to figure out, what things are going to be best. Like I said, trees are when's the best time to plant a tree is 5 years ago or more. If it's a windbreak tree, 10 years ago. But one of the things that I have realized is coming up here and getting the one property. Now, all of a sudden, we bought the second property across the street. Oh, here comes Lewis. And Tammy says, that's...
Hey.
All right, come on, let me get this right. Here, everything's flying. That's a new channel advice, not intended for this audience. Okay. Advice. Okay, for this. Okay. And CB's here. Hugo Homestead. Getting an echo, Lewis. So one of the things to consider.
Pardon?
I'm getting an echo from you. I can hear myself echoing. Okay, it sounds like it stopped. All right, so figuring out what you want to do. One of the things that we've kicked around several times, and we keep changing our mind on it, because as we do more research, knowledge is power. As we do more research, we keep shifting from, do we want to raise this? Do we want to raise that? All right, so we were talking about raising some pigs, since Brendan had been raising pigs on this property, had to set up there. However, when I cleaned it out and stuff, and the smell and everything else, and talking with Chris and I talking together about it, it's like, no, we don't want to do pigs. We may do chickens, but then again, what type of chickens and stuff, we're kind of kicking that around. Chris still wants to get a couple of chickens, not too many, just, 3 or 4, and that's it, or whatever. We've talked about getting sheep. We've talked about getting goats, and we've talked about getting cattle. Horses came up and immediately went, okay, that's not a producer for us. That's a luxury item, So horses got kind of, unless we hit the lottery, we're not getting horses. So with the properties, trying to figure out what's the best to make use of the property.
Is there still an echo?
No, echo's gone. All the background noise is gone now. So whatever it is, we need to figure out, how we can get the best use out of the property for the easiest amount of work, and that'll bring in the greatest return. The reason why we were thinking about getting goats is because of all the friggin' weeds and stuff over there, constantly trying to take it down. And we actually hired some goats in, and they eliminated the areas that they were in for the short time they were here. I froze for a second. When we had rented some goats in here, the area we had them at, they eliminated all the Russian bloom, which is an invasive species that was brought over by some idiots. We've also thought about raising maybe a couple turkey, but for the turkey that sell I'm seeing the comments there. Quail, no, absolutely not. Ducks, no. Turkeys, maybe. Because the turkeys and chickens get along. My daughter raised turkeys and chickens together. But it's figuring out what we can do for the biggest bang for the buck. And the different varieties of chickens my daughter's been raising, the white Cornish cross got almost as big as a small turkey, in 1 year. And so, and big as the turkey got in 1 year, the Cornish cross got that big in like 3 months. So, but because with the properties over there, we're thinking about goats because there's so many weeds and stuff, especially along the fence line. However, we have to make sure that the fence, we have to set up a fence to fence off the apple trees and pear trees and those type trees that my daughter's growing over there. So goats, it's like goats are great escape artists, but if you have a large, and goats are a herd family thing. If you have 1 or 2 by themselves, they're going to be trying to get out to find a bunch of other goats. You have a dozen goats or so, they're a lot better. 24 goats, they're happy. They got plenty of friends, and they're not trying to get out. However, the male goats are, the male goats are like teenage boys on spring break from college. they're trying to spread their stuff everywhere. And only when the goats do it, they pee all over themselves to make thinking, that makes them attractive to the shoot. I know ewes are female sheep. I'm not sure what the female goats are called. So it's one of those things that's like, no, they stink, they're nasty and everything else. And no, we really don't want to do that. So, and what happened to us when we had the rental goats over here, the wind came through blowing really hard, and the person didn't have good electric fencing set up, and it blew down. They got over it, and they almost killed one of the apple trees. They stripped it down pretty good. Let's just say comments here. Okay, hang on here. Yeah, that's the thing about the sheep, right? They mow and stuff, but we have to really work the land over there first and get the grass and alfalfa growing, so we can move them around and keep one area of alfalfa growing enough where we get a neighbor that goes around to different people's properties. They'll come in and cut it down and then bale it up after a week or so of drying out for us. Be able to feed the sheep through the winter. And then we were talking about that. It's like, okay,
I know that,
what was that?
I know that here in Canada, when they do, I don't know too much about, I know how to cut down the grass, but the hay, I know that when they cut it down, it takes about 3 days before they bale it. But that's 3 days in the sun.
Yeah. And no rain and no fog.
Yeah.
And so we were thinking about, all right, so sheep, yeah, all right, you can have lamb chops and stuff like that. And we were talking about, we're really not lamb eating people. Once, twice a year, and that's it. So it takes us back to cattle. And the same thing, but we get a couple cows and we rotate through butchering. We buy a new one every spring, when it's old enough to be, when it's weaned and stuff. And then we butcher one of the ones, and that way that they get the full age, before we, harvest them. So
talking about that too, when you're picking your animals for your homestead, like I know sheep give about anywhere up to 4 babies, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're doing that, you got to think about that too.
Yeah. And we could do, the wool thing, raising it. But the problem is with all the weeds around here and the weeds that blow in off the Indian reservation irrigation ditch, because they don't keep their weeds down at all. Hey, Sumi, they always getting weed seed blowing in. That's going to be a problem. But it's just the different things we got to figure about doing to try to take care of whatever it is we're going to grow. And if we use the 2.5 acres away from where the canal is on the other side of the property, my daughter's planting trees out there for an orchard and stuff. That might stop when they start getting full size. That'll stop the stuff from blowing over quite so much. And we should be able to with cows move them from all right. The cows are on 2 cows are on this 1/4 acre. We move them over to the next section. We move them over to the next section, and we keep moving them. And the stuff and a couple of sections we don't, like a 1/2 acre or even a whole acre, we don't even let them on at all 1 year, and then we get let it grow high enough to be able to get 1 or 2 cuttings of alfalfa down to feed the cattle during the winter time. Next year we swap it, so the one section we let it do them, and the other one we let it grow tall. It's just trying to figure out how to do it best.
The other thing is, like, I know, Gil, you get the springs, right, where it's nice and wet. You might want to keep, like, for anybody else too, right? Like the bigger the animal, the more damage they're going to do to the ground, right? So on those fields, you might want to keep them in the spring when it's nice and wet out. Keep them on it like close to the barn in one particular field that they can, I don't want to say destroy, but where the grass isn't going to grow as well or good, right? They're mucky field. So that they're not out in the good field where they're grazing or you're going to be using for silage throughout the winter.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's part of our plans is so we wait until the one area is grown up tall enough in the spring, because our spring isn't that long as far as being wet, maybe 4 weeks. And then when they go and we move them over that one, then I can take the rotor tiller out there, rotor till that, and we can harvest alfalfa seed, or put some more alfalfa seed out there a little bit to get it growing again, to make sure it grows. And it's one of the things we got to figure out. But one of the things we are working on is being able to use other local farmers. And so we'll be able to buy, until all our fruit trees are producing good, we'll be able to buy apples and apricot stuff from them. And some of them have good sized fields, like this type here, that where we can get butternut squash, pumpkins, zucchini. Of course, zucchini was growing wild here. I mean, plants I put out there, man, I was just cutting zucchini left and right during the summer last year. It gave so much to my daughter that she ate a bunch, and then she was just feeding a lot of it to the chickens to supplement the chickens' foods. And I know cattle love zucchini. They love patty pans. They love the golden crookneck. They love any type of squash plant like that. And so that's one thing also we can supplement for the cattle too. And Tammy, we thought about that, about renting them out too, but it's also a lot of work to going out, delivering them, and because the lady did ours, she brought them out in the morning, picked them up in the evening, brought them out in the morning, picked them up in the evening. It's one of those things that you got to judge how you're going to be doing it and expenses and stuff on it. And it's one of those things. We both decided, hey, we're getting up there. We don't want to spending a lot of work, and until the grandsons are big enough to actually help, my daughter's not going to want to do that because she's got wild little Indians running around trying to take care of them. So it's just one of those things. You have to figure out what you want to do one thing at a time. And one of the first things that when we bought the property across the street, one of the first things I did is the owner before it had installed 11 irrigation ditches on irrigation gates on it, and had berms running out there and splitting, and there was no way to really do anything out there. He just had it watering good, so he had horses out there, and to water the grass for the horses and everything else. And then when he passed away, his son rented it out to Brandon, who had cattle out there, and it was just, you couldn't do anything with the land. And it was, the cattle weren't eating enough. You weren't getting enough good food because the soil couldn't be taken care of. And so one of the first things that we did is we bought the tractor, tried to knock down some of the berms and stuff, but it was so bloody hard out there, and I couldn't do anything with it. So I rented a dozer for a day and just absolutely got it all cleaned up. We could drive anywhere out there, and get, now we're getting wood chips delivered, so we can actually get the soil built up, and it's going to take a couple of years to get that. Hang on. Speaking of acquisitions, I picked up a Meyer lemon today. Woo! For the indoor garden. Absolutely excellent, Sumi. Yeah, they'll be interested, especially when they are when they're big enough to run the tractor. Oh yeah, they'll be all over the place trying to help the tractor. Shady Hill Homestead, welcome. So I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything on that, on the chat there. So one of the things we're trying to figure out what we want to do is, well, so what I've been doing for the last, you've seen for the last couple of years here, I've been on the small property here, the 1 acre lot where I'm at, I've been building up the garden and turning all the wood chips and stuff into it, building a retaining wall to have the garden area kind of flat, still have a slope to it, which is good, which means we can water. If we need to flood irrigate it a little bit, we can flood irrigate it. We've got the IBC totes turned into planter beds, so we got lower pH, more acidic soil, so we can plant certain plants in the totes that won't do well in the ground because the high alkali content of the ground. Swaffer Homestead, welcome. And so that's one of the things that I've been doing here. And so we're trying to expand it. I planted what? Trying to remember, 10 fruit trees, two apricots, 2 pears, 2 apples, 2 peaches. And 2 cherries. And so, I would have, loved to be able to got those trees planted sooner, but I had to get that area where I planted them leveled out and everything working so we could do it and doing it. So it's going to be more of a food forest there, and where the trees are protected by the shop and the house. So I got the area down in here that's protected by the shop and the house from the winds. So the blossoms don't get blown away in the springtime, which happens to a lot of people around here. So I had to do step at a time, get it leveled. It started with, all right, we've got to replace the patio concrete because it's all cracking, broken in all different funky angles and stuff. And so we got rid of it, got a new patio put down in there, got a cover put on it, got the area leveled next to it, got cardboard rototilled into it, other biomass rototilled into it. Then we got the trees planted, got all the wood chips dumped on it, and then adding the gypsum to it to bring the calcium level up on it, and just working it, trying to get it ready for it be a good producing garden. Then we had to take down all the trees because it popped up unexpectedly with the fact that limbs were coming down and they were rotted out. It was like, oh, okay, we need to get rid of these trees because they're 120 feet tall, and if they fall the right direction, they're going to take out the shop. And so we had to, it's been one thing and another. Some things I tried doing a bunch of things at once the first year. And the first year that I was up here, but the first 2 years, my wife and I are coming up, for a week or a week or two during the summertime, like a week in the beginning, one in the summer, trying to work on the place up here. And we just kept on finding out, all right, to do this, we got to do this first. To do this, we got to do that first. And so, found things we had to move around and just sort of screwed up our plans because we didn't realize that to do this thing here, these other things were impacting this first. And so it's one of those things that you got to plan things out. And of course, got a son-in-law that doesn't do everything he promised to do, doesn't do anything he promised to do without taking care of the property across the street there. And, so it's one of those things that's, so we're having to do multiple things here. And it's just one of those things you got to work on it to figure out what do I got to do first, what I got to do second. And there are certain things that Like I see, having grown up, from a little kid, on some property doing stuff that I see differently than what my wife did, because she has her parents bought an orchard when she was about 8, 9 or so she didn't have the younger years working on it, and so she has just that part. But they didn't have cows, they didn't have pigs, they didn't have horses, they didn't have goats, things we had on our property, and that I knew some of the problems with there from what we had. And so when I say, oh, we need this, why do we need that? Because if we want to have animals, we need to have some cargo containers that I can use as barns, because I don't want to spend $10,000 on a barn when I can spend $1,500 on a 40-foot cargo container, and I can put a couple doors in it, and then the animals have shelter. And so, trying to work things out and figure out plans and stuff. So it's one of those things that you have to work together with whoever your significant other is to make it work.
If you're gonna go through the metal containers, are you gonna keep the bottoms in? Are you gonna keep the bottoms in?
Like the floors? Absolutely. Because
if you're gonna put
it easier to clean.
Okay.
It makes it a lot easier to clean.
If you're gonna be putting like animals in there, you might want to put, here in Canada we got 8x4 things of rubber, like rubber mats.
Yeah.
I know with cows you might want to, and horses you would want to put that in there, so that they've got some it's like the bottom of your shoes to their feet.
Yeah. Well, the thing is
the other animals, like
with cow, if we have cows, the area that they'll be coming in there, the only thing I might put in there will not be rubber. I might put down, what I may do is just go in and pour a 2-inch slab on top of the bottom of it, and turn it up on the side so it contains everything to keep it from rusting out the bottom of the cargo container. But
it's not, I don't know, like I know that some farmers even in their barns use rubber mats for their cows.
I've also a lot of them go with concrete. But the majority of them go with concrete for the common areas, and if it's like a dairy operation, they'll have the concrete center in the middle here of concrete, and off on the side here, I get my hands to work right, they have little individual stalls for them that they put sand in for the cows to lay down in. And generally the cows fit in there with their butts hanging out over the curb from the sand over into the common area where they poop, and then the machine comes along and just scrapes it off every couple hours. There's some Megan Dairy Farmer, I think is the one, and the other one is Iowa Dairy Farmer. Those two guys, both two different parts of Iowa over there, that they've run into each other because of YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, but they are basically set up the same. And as far as how things go with all the stuff on it and everything else, but we're not going to be worrying about doing that. We just want some room for them to come in and out of the winter, and from the winter snow and stuff, to stay a little warm and be able to still wander outside and do stuff and everything else. When Brandon had cows here, the cows stayed outside all year round, but they weren't as happy as the ones that had that were in the area with the big trees, where they could get underneath the big trees. So it's
You
one of
put
those things.
cattle or livestock in any kind of shelter, even if it's open on one side, they stay warm. Their body heat keeps them warm as long as there's no wind blowing on them and stuff like that. And there's a couple of them together, they love it.
Yeah. And the other thing too is if we have the cargo containers, what I can do between the cargo containers, if I've set up 2 cargo containers 12 feet apart, and I get some trusses and put up there and put some metal roofing over it. Yeah, it's a breezeway, but yeah, they'll probably just happy down in there. And then I can just use the cargo containers for storing alfalfa and grain and whatever else I need for them. But that's one of the things we were looking at to see, and we're talking with some of the other people around surrounding the town, not in town, that have cattle, and talking to them, because there's a couple of people who have like 5 or 6 cows or 10 cows or whatever, and seeing how they do it.
You can always put a temporary closure on one end of it in the wintertime. Summertime, you leave both sides open. Just make it so the wind doesn't blow through it. It blows side to side against the container, your normal wind direction. And close one side of it. That'll keep them warm. They can come in and out. And they'll go all the way to the back where there's really no wind.
Yeah. Well, like all right, we had two dairy cows back in 73 through 85, and so off the one side of the barn, where it was a small barn, off the one side of it, we built a big lean-to cover over it.
Yeah.
And so the 3 sides were open, and then we built another little shed next to it and cover for that, a little pull barn there to pile all the alfalfa in. So they wound up with, one side solid, one side semi-solid, the other side's open. And believe it or not, this was in California, or in Bay Area, where it didn't get that cold. And most of the time, they were out wandering around in the pasture corral area out there, and they only came underneath when we fed them.
Yeah.
But of course, we didn't get snow there either. We didn't get below 0 temperatures.
Yeah. Hey, Diana, too. She just asked, how would you go about looking for a homestead property, any kind of special financing or for homesteads? So every state is different. Pennsylvania.
Federal. I got the federal thing for you.
Okay, well, but each state has its own thing also. There is federal.
Yeah.
But like Pennsylvania has some homesteading laws, but they're pretty, not laws, rules, regulations, stuff like that. You really got to dig into it.
Yeah.
Now, whether you get special financing, maybe it depends.
Yeah, I'm looking it up here right now. Give me a second here. I
found my property. I didn't buy it for homesteading. Could I? Oh, yeah. 15 acres, 4 of it's open. The rest is woods. I got a stream. I'm not on a main highway or anything like that. So, yeah, I could. I might. I haven't really delved into it yet because we haven't built the house there. Once we put a house there, then I'll start talking to people and see what things are available to save money in taxes. That's assuming maybe in a year we won't have property taxes, but that's a different story.
All right. Where is it? I'm looking at it. Okay. USDA has a 0 down one-time construction loan you can get. They also have a one-time loan to buy property for 0 down, combination loans for buying and building a house 0 down, and then there's loan benefits. I'm going to put 3 links here in the side chat. These are reels. These are like 2-minute reels. There's the first one. And I'm going to talk about this in more in depth on a different one here.
Now that's for financing.
That's to buy it. And
right.
So if you find the land, you can do it. Now I'm trying to remember her name. There's this single lady in her late 20s, mid 20s, late 20s. Got the loans. She does at least one of these reels here, and she talks about it. She's back in your neck of the neighborhood, Mark, because she had her barn dominium built by the Amish, and then they built something else for her, and so she has very low interest, zero down loans for doing it. And the money she had saved up for the down payment, she didn't need to use it. So that's what went to help pay the Amish off and keep her loan down. So she's doing it there. Grammy Karen, good evening.
Yeah, once you have that's the loan part of it to get to the building part. But once you're established, those laws generally fall into the state category.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like in Maryland, getting a homesteading a permit, whatever you want to call it, to get your property tax they'll come out and inspect you like once a week because I have names for that.
Okay. But here, to get it for the tax break, there's several tax breaks in Idaho. The first one is you're living on the property, you get a 50% tax break. 50%, boom, for living on the property, because they had people buying property and renting them out. So, so they jacked up property rates and said, you live in it, you're 50% off. Then if you are producing on the land, you have to produce a certain amount of sales or, dollar amount sales from it. Exactly. And then you get another big chunk off.
Well, yeah, but you have to prove the sales and pay the tax on the sale. It's kind of, and I'm looking into it. So if you just Google homesteading regulations in your state, it'll take you to the like Pennsylvania takes you to the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture or whatever.
It's going to be under the Department of Ag.
Up to Philly, and you have to dig through it. And at some point, you may want to, if you know a lawyer in your state that does real estate law, those are the ones that would know about it. But you got to pay for them, obviously. But they can usually generally direct you the right way.
Here was the interesting thing. We found out that we could get the tax break. We went down to the county office and talked to them about it. They say, yeah. And they go, oh, are you producing any crops there? They asked us, are you producing any crops? If you produce and sell more than $1,000 worth of crops, then you get this break. And they handed us the paperwork for that too.
Yeah. You just got to grow food.
If you have a good county tax people, here's the way you can do it. Here's the paperwork you need for this. Here's the paperwork you need for that.
Yep.
So and then of course
you have to keep your books. You have to keep your records. You have to show the sales on paper, on the books, and then you put in like, okay, I spent. This is where bookkeeping comes in handy with a business, because you're technically a business at that point. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I spent $900 in seed and $200 in this, that, the other thing, and trees. I don't know if you can count your labor, but then you go to the farmer's market, you pay for your stall there, and
all that stuff too.
You sell it there, but that's got to be on record. So then you have a little tablet there that keeps track of things, even if they're paying cash, which we all want to just take cash and not worry about it. Once you hit a certain threshold, well, yeah, if you want to play the cash game, that's on you. But you got to hit that threshold, and then you can turn those tax records in and say, hey, I sold $2,500 worth of produce this season and for the year. And then whatever the tax implications are there. And then that's when things, it can be complicated, but once you get a good understanding, I haven't done it yet, but I'm looking into it. Yeah. Once you get an understanding of it, then you can roll along. Then your property tax, now you have the homestead credits with the state and federal. There's just a lot of things that are good, but one wrong move can absolutely shaft the whole thing.
Yeah. And that's one of the things too, is we were talking about it and we asked them, is that net or is that gross? They said, if you're buying, so long as you sell, show that you have so much in sales, that's what we want. The county said, that's what we want to see. Now they don't want to know if you how much you're writing off for other stuff. They want to know what the sales are, so they can say, "Yep, you get your ag exempt now."
Yeah.
But and then once, like I said, but then when it comes to state taxes and federal taxes, then you start writing off all the expenses, all the equipment, anything else, labor, all the others, and that's where if you have kids or grandkids, you hire them to work in the fields. And and they can earn up to, you have them earn up to a certain amount, and then and that's what all they earn during the year, because that's the threshold for them being tax free.
Yeah.
But then there's still an expense for you, so you get to take it off. But yeah, that's one of the things, we're probably not going to be doing that per se. Oh, and it also may turn out for us to go another way. And here's something you guys got to think about too on your focus. If we just turn it into a agricultural gardening stuff and sell everything at the farmer's market and make our credit that way and make enough money where, heck, why should we go through the hassle of corralling cattle and worry about feeding the cattle through the winter and worry about everything else when we got friends down on the other side of town here, the same ones that said that anytime we want to use their freeze dryer, we can. They raise and sell cattle. That's when my daughter bought her whole cow for and sent it to the butcher shop, and we can buy. All right, we'll buy one from you, and then or we'll buy half, and my daughter and her family will buy half, and we'll have a year's worth of beef between the two of us for everybody. That may be a better way to go, is to make friends with farmers and then find someone else that's raising a pig, buy a pig from him, get it all done up and process the stuff and all the meat preserved. And so, I got enough pork for 2 years, so you only buy a pig once a year. Or maybe you have to buy a pig every year.
Yeah.
That is kind of the way you want to go, sort of. You might want to bring
starting out.
Yeah. Or you bring them home, or you buy one that's ready to be off, like a couple months off of its mother, bring it home, feed it all summer long, and in the fall, before the weather gets really bad, then go and have it slaughtered.
Yeah, the problem with that is it's better if you're doing cattle, it's better to have them be a year and a half old.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm speaking for all livestock that you want to eat.
Pigs was Brandon was doing pigs every 9 months. He was bringing them in and he was processing them every 9 months. And so, he had some here during the wintertime, but the ones he had during the wintertime, generally he just kept a couple sows, and so they birthed in the fall of that, and then they occasionally it was a weird pattern, but it's about every 9 months he was turning it over, and it just worked good for him because he had him in the thing. He'd go into his tractor, scoop out all the poop, dump it in the field out there, and when it turned time, he'd back his big trailer up there, load all the pigs into the trailer, take it to the butcher shop all in one shot. Yeah. And he usually had people ready to buy it already, or people would come by with their own trailers and pick up the pig or two and go take and deliver it themselves.
Yeah. And getting back to Diana's question for a second. So the other thing you also want to do is create, if you're going to do the homesteading thing and sell stuff, you need to create an LLC. Because if you don't, and you go to a farmer's market and I'm just Mad Chick Acres or just Mark, and I sell something and somebody decides I got sick from your stuff, you're going to lose your house, homestead, and everything. So you need to create the LLC and look at the legal implications there.
Okay, actually, you need something more than the LLC, because the LLC will still get through. You need to set up a land trust for the land, period. That all it covers is the land. Then you set up a trust for personal property. Then you set up a trust for equipment and everything else.
Oh, okay.
Then you set up an LLC. The LLC does not own the trust, but it manages the trust for a fee. I got to set up coming up here in a couple months here, a whole thing on the setting up how to do it. But yeah, so you set up, you got yourself a land trust, you get yourself a personal trust, you get yourself an equipment trust. Irrevocable, not revocable. You want an irrevocable. So you don't own it, the trust owns it. And you're just a what's the word? A trustee
employee
of the trust.
Right.
And so then you have your LLC, which does the business of selling the stuff. So the LLC buys the food from the trust that has the equipment and stuff and the farming portion of it. They buy the food from there, and the LLC sells it at the farmer's market.
Right. See, I already got myself set up to some extent with a couple of my friends that have restaurants, my customers that are now friends, and they know. I'm like, I start growing stuff. I said, I'm going to do 2, 3, 50-yard rows of green beans, and I'll sell them to you. They're like, yeah, great, no problem. And then they'll come down and pick them and just pay me for the beans. Yeah.
So let me show you something. Every line here is a different video on the green one. The green, I put the green for money. Okay, so this is money management one here. All the different things. Make trust the owner, not the beneficiary. Open collateral, custodial Roth IRA, child's names, college plans, life insurance policies, LLCs, all the different types of LLCs. U.S. Tax Code 121 deals with a lot of stuff on that. Fixed annuities, no taxation on loans for certain things. The gray here is the 3 things I put into the chat there. And so you got all sorts of different things to make money off of the stuff here. But I'm going to be doing at least one whole live stream on it, and then I may do a separate members only, more in depth afterwards. So so there's a lot of things to look at too. If you're going to be selling stuff, then you need to look at all this other money management stuff and the trust. Now, some trusts you can have as revocable, but you want to have the big assets that you want to protect in irrevocable trust. And that way, when you get old and you want to turn everything over to the kids, there's nothing to turn over. You just name them as trustees. Mm-hmm. And then the trust pays you it can pay out to you as your retirement stuff for having been the manager of the trust. It's an interesting way of legal way of gaming the system. That's what most of billionaires and billionaires do.
Let's just hope that within the next year or so, well, in America anyway, that all of a sudden, no more taxes.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Yes,
but I'm not holding my breath for that one.
Yeah, of course, that also means no more free giveaways to people that didn't earn it.
No.
All right. So let's see. So basically, you need to make a plan, figure out what you want to get, what you can get. Yeah, some things you work on multiple things at one time. And in construction, we had it was called a job timeline. And shoot, I don't have that up. Basically, it looked like a long spreadsheet, and you had a bar graphs. I said this one here came in first. This one here came in next. This one here was the one you did next. This one up here started here and ran during several things, and you broke the jobs up in different things as things you were to be done and worked on. So we knew what the time allocation was for doing parts of the job, installing stuff, pre-job jobs that had to be done. and for the whole thing. And it's one of those things that you set up your timeline. Okay, so I want to do this, and this. You have a list, and you go and you start figuring out how you're going to do stuff, what order, how many things you do, multiple things at once. Sometimes it gets totally screwed up. Sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad. For the good, all of a sudden, you have a line on some cargo containers, brand new cargo containers, or like new cargo containers used once or twice, that they got overstocked on, and they're all of a sudden having a sale. Instead of being $2,300 for a 40-foot cargo container, it's $1,100, but you got to take it this week. You get something like that, where it's if you're getting it for less than, you're getting like 40% off, 60% off on it. Yeah, you got to move on it, and then you got to find some place to. You got to find some place to set it on the property till you're ready to move it to where you want it permanently.
Where are you finding a $2,300 40-foot container? I got a guy I bought my 20-footer from. Well, during COVID, he has 40-footers, the high cubes, and they're like anywhere from 42 to 55, depends if it's one trip, two trip, or just used in good shape.
All right. So, here's the kicker was. I bought my two cargo containers for $1,300 each.
How long ago?
5 years ago. However, I just saw up here in Idaho Falls, people were selling cargo containers with doors on both ends, 8 foot tall, not high cubes, not the 9 foot tall, $1,100.
Why?
Delivered.
Those are the owners, or those the owners or those resellers?
That's the company that's selling them.
That's because, ironically, you're closer to the shipping points than I am, where these containers are coming in, getting unloaded, and China don't want them back. It's more expensive to ship a used container empty than it is to just build a new one over there and ship it over here. So, we're starting to get loaded up with containers, but the prices aren't. They're sort of coming down around here.
Yeah, I know. It's really weird. Like, I can go get a 40-footer in Oakland, California, for $800.
Yeah, you got to pay to ship it up to you.
Yeah, but then I can get it to use in California for $800. I can get it delivered to my house in California for $800.
Yeah, getting it delivered up there, that's another $2,000 because of fuel and all that.
Yeah, but or I can get it shipped up here to Idaho Falls on railroad for a lot cheaper than shipping it on a truck, and then I just get the local guy to pick it up and bring it down here for an extra $500. But that's the thing is, you got to look at it. But you got to figure out what you need. When you're setting stuff up, try to do 2 savings accounts. One is for the unexpected emergencies. The other one is you're saving for specific things to buy. And when that unexpected emergency turns out to be, this is on super sale now and you can get it, that's why you have a separate savings for that. The other thing too to think about,
if something goes, like say you got a big enough homestead where you need a big tractor, right? Now it breaks. You do something out in the field because you're doing bigger crops, right? I've seen it happen, like tears the tie rods on the front steering. You go over a rut big enough, it'll snap, and you got to go and buy a piece. There's $10,000 right there.
Well, that's why when we bought this, bought the Coyote, we bought it. The people we got the loan from said you have to get insurance on it. We want to see that you have insurance on it.
Oh,
in case you roll it, in case it gets stolen, in case it catches fire, whatever, coverage on it. And the coverage was really cheap for a tractor. And we got it, and it was out here, or I parked it in the wintertime, and one of those trees fell on it, it would replace the entire tractor.
Yeah.
So
I didn't get insurance on mine because I paid outright for it, so I didn't need to worry about it. So it's in a storage container with my neighbor keeping an eye on the container. That's about it.
Yeah. And so that's one of the options to look into. Do you need to get insurance on your equipment stuff? Just about all of the farmers and stuff I've been following that have equipment, like Laura Farms. That's what big one I follow. I'm just sorry, I'm having a brain fart of all the ones I follow on YouTube and stuff, and on Facebook. They all talk about, we all have insurance on everything. They even have insurance. Laura Farms even has insurance on her the walking irrigation things.
Oh yeah, those big watering,
with the wheels on it, and it walks along and it pivots. The pivot, the irrigation pivot. They have insurance on those because Mother Nature decides, hey, we're gonna send the groundhogs out there, and they're gonna dig a hole right where your wheels are supposed to go, and it's gonna drop in.
And then fall over and do thousands and tens of thousands.
Exactly. And it's going to twist, and before it goes, whoops, something's wrong.
Yeah, I've seen tractors get stuck up to their axles up here in Canada. Going to a field that's got a bit of a low spot. Last year, it wasn't all that wet, but you could still drive through it. This spring, you're down in the axles because it just sucked you in.
Yeah. I almost lost my tractor the first day I had it. Went to the low end of my field in the spring, and I'm driving along, and all of a sudden I'm like, why am I not going as fast? I looked down, and it was just gushing water out from the front tires. I was like, oh, hell no. So I jammed down on that four-wheel locker where the guy said, if you do that, you don't want to do it for very long. I jammed that, turned the wheel, got uphill a little bit, and that thing was making some bad noises. But it got me out of there, and I was those ruts 3 years later are still there, and they're like 14 inches deep. I was close. That would have sucked.
I'm used to working with the 6800 John Deeres and the 7200 John Deeres, and sometimes the one field sprayer that got stuck the 1 year, it took a 6800 and the 7200 to pull it out, and it had all four tires on both the tractors, and it just, the guy, this was a Dutch guy, and I've never seen him get so mad, but this day he was like, his face was red and the veins were bulging out of his neck.
Oh, we don't want to scare the beginners off now, guys. We don't want to scare the beginners off.
There's ways to get your tractors out with straps and trees and things by yourself.
But Butch here says, own versus rental, no storage, rent, whatever. So I own the Coyote. I have a 1939 9N Ford tractor, but I rent excavators because my little bucket for if I'm doing a big ditch or something, I'm going to rent the excavator. I've rented a dozer. I've rented Bobcat track loaders several times with all the different attachments on it with the 18-inch post hole diggers when I planted the 24 trees out here because I ain't digging 24 holes by myself. Rented it. One day they were all dug. Sent the told them they could come pick up the post hole attachment, and they picked it up, brought out the rotavator. Then I used the rotavator attachment on the front of it over and across the street before I bought one, and just went through that stuff really fast and really deep and knocked it out quick, and it was well worth it. But there's some things I need a tractor here all the time, and that's why we have the Coyote. I would like to have a bigger one, 35 or 40 or 45 horsepower tractor all the time. That's down the road. That's not in the playbook for right now. It's in the playbook down the road.
Yeah. The good thing is with tractors, if they're in really good shape and the hours aren't too bad, and you've been doing the maintenance on it, it's not like a car. You buy a car for $50,000, you drive off the lot, your trade-in value is now $35,000 with 1 mile on it. Tractors, no, you pay $50,000 for a tractor, in 4 years, it's still in great shape. Tires are in great shape. You can sell it for almost what you paid for it.
Yeah. And depending what's going on, it was, they may go, oh, this is a good one that didn't have any problems and stuff. And the newer ones are crap. Yeah, you might sell for more than what you paid for it.
Like guy already told me, he's like, you ever want to trade yours back in? He's like, call us. We'll probably give you what you paid for it, maybe more. Because he knows I'm not going to be driving it like 100 hours a week. I think I just cracked 80 hours on it, maybe. I got to change the oil on it in the spring, but because I'm overdue by like 20. I checked the oil. It still looks like brand new because I don't abuse it.
Yeah.
It just drives around and cuts grass for the most part.
Yeah, some of these the farmers, they'll if they find an older tractor, they'll be happy to buy it. Sometimes because with the John Deeres, the bigger ones, the farmers that got hundreds of acres, it's all computerized. Got to have some guy to come out and look at it.
Yeah.
Now they're changing that law here. I think they already changed it somewhat because of that.
All right. So going back to Mother said, she's looking for some plans for build a chicken coop, and she says she lives in town. So camouflage chicken coops. There are plans out there. There are plenty of pictures. You Google suburban chicken coops, and you'll see you can have all the different choices. You can find ones where people take them and they build them and they make it look just like the house.
Yeah, just make sure there's because they're like in Maryland, there's regulations on where having chickens in your county and your town. They have to be a certain distance away and a certain amount of chickens and all these things. They got lots of regs on this. And I got a neighbor 2 doors down, a whole bunch of they don't speak much English. And one house, there's like 14 of them in there. I'm not happy about that. And they already have chickens in the backyard with this half-assed coop with tarps and stuff on it. No roosters, because if there was a rooster there, I'd have already called the cops. But there's a lot of laws in our town and our county for you have chickens, they got to be a certain distance from your house, from the property line, all these things. You don't want to piss off the county. They'll come out there, and now you're under their watchful eye all the time.
Yeah, well, like here for our city, the only requirement on chickens is you have a max of 24 chickens per acre.
Okay.
And that's it. They don't care what they're all free range all the time. They don't care what it looks like. They don't care if you build the chicken coop up next to the house. They don't care. And the thing is, though, they also have they have it's not a law, but it's sort of like a little unspoken thing. If it's making if you got a lot of roosters and they're annoying everybody, then they say, hey, you need to take care of some of those roosters.
Yep.
You need to send them to freezer camp.
All right, dog roosters go to dog food camp. But anyway,
no, it depends. They may go to freezer camp to become chicken sausage.
Yeah, soup camp. Yeah,
exactly. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up here. I see other ones coming live and stuff. All right, so coming up tomorrow night on Gray Man Prepping, the topic is, what is your dream specialty gear? So bring the list of gear you want to talk about for tomorrow night. We're on Gray Man Prepping. Monday back here is canning ground beef with flavorings. And we're going to talk all sorts of flavorings, all sorts of things you want to add to the ground beef when you're canning it to make using it later on easier, simple, and more flavorful. Tactical Tuesday on Gray Man Prepping, large or small caliber, and that's going to be a lot of code words, people. So we're going to be talking about freedom seeds and freedom sticks and patriotic. We're going to talk all sorts of code words on Tactical Tuesday. Thursday is the Midnight Ride. Next Friday here is spring is almost here. It's 4 weeks away. That's what it's going to be. Then we're going to talk about those of you who are getting ready to start gardens. We're going to start, cover a little bit of garden planning and stuff next week here. So that's what's coming up here. Next Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday is March 1st, and it starts the event after the event series. And so after the event series is, after the event, what is your plan? And it could be like, after the power grid collapses, what is your plan? After California falls into the ocean, what is your plan?
Swim.
After the New Madrid volcano erupts, what is your plan?
Wait, didn't they just rename Trump just renamed the San Andreas fault to the Newsom's fault?
They're still joking that one, but yeah. But yeah, so I'm talking about all sorts of things. Right now I've got the events lined out through. Scroll on down here. After the event, up through. October 18th. So I got every Saturday up through October 18th for Survival Saturday with an event planned out. If you have other events, have an event you want to, you'd like to see us explore and talk about it, emails down in the bottom of the chat and just send it. Say, hey, how about this for one of the events? And I'll know what it is. But,
if anybody's bored after this, Tammy from Rebel Canners and Corky they're doing a live stream right now. I'm going to post the link.
Okay. Yeah, they've been at it for about 45 minutes.
Yeah, I know. They started, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta multitask.
Yeah, and what they're doing is they're doing the come on, brain work.
How to beat the algorithm? Yeah.
Yeah. How do you're setting up a new channel and stuff? You're new. You're new to setting up videos and stuff. You need to know about it and what to do for it to get your channel going and stuff. Head on over there. All right, everyone. Thanks for coming in, and hope you've gained something from this. And we'll be hopefully see you tomorrow night on Survival Saturday.
Sweet.
Take it out of there.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
All right, and
I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna head over and harass Corky now.
Yeah, I'm waiting for this thing to end. It's not wanting to end.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Live. Hey,
we're still live. We're still live. End. Come on. Bang. Come on. Button's not acting up. Damn. There we go. Finally.